Chief Colina, there's a growing call to abolish police. What does that mean exactly?
Well, I think in the simplest terms, it means doing away with the police department. And honestly, I just can't imagine how anyone could think that that's a good idea. The idea of having reform, the idea of having better policy, enhanced training, identifying problematic office, that's all needed. And I accept those things and I agree with those things. But not having police, who takes care of the people that need the police, that, somebody comes and takes your iPhone, who do you call for help? I don't understand the concept.
The Minneapolis City Council is promising to abolish the police. They just voted yesterday, completely replace it with a new model of public safety. Could that be effective? Possibly better? If you try to wrap your mind around this idea, what could something like that possibly even begin to look like, in your opinion?
I don't know. And rarely is it wise to take something and completely dismantle it. We know that once you have a framework, then it's easy to build off that framework. And so I'm sure that there are many things about the Minneapolis Police Department that work. And I'm sure that there are things that don't. And just the idea of defunding, abolishing, and starting from scratch, the amount of money that would take, I don't know. Does that mean that none of these officers are retained? Do they leave for 6 months, come back later when they're ready to start? What's the training like? What do you do in the interim? I think it's just a simple thought, and quite frankly, a naive one, to think, hey, just send everybody home and we'll start fresh tomorrow and everything will be fine. It just doesn't work that way. It needs to be addressed in a comprehensive way.
Let's talk about defunding. What does defunding the police actually mean?
So, I know it's catchy to say that. People will look at a police budget and think, wow, why does that encompass so much of a city or a county's budget? Typically the police department is the biggest department in the city. Typically not just civilian employees, but obviously the officers. I'd like to know, where would you like to take the funding from? Because, for example, Enrique, accountability, which is what everyone is asking for, that's expensive. Body-worn cameras and the storage of video is expensive. Having an internal affairs that's off-site so you feel safe when you make a complaint, that's expensive. GPS in the cars to see where the officers are at, what they're doing, when they're doing, that's expensive. Bias-based policing training, the de-escalation training. We have a simulator that we bought. We were the first in the state of Florida and in the Southeast United States where you de-escalate, and the simulator allows you to do that instead of just shoot, don't shoot. All those things cost a lot of money. Where do you cut from? Take less, have less policemen in the street, take away technology that we use to put the very worst of the worst in jail, people who rape and kill, pedophiles. Where do you cut? I think it's really simple just to say cut. Okay, but where?
New York Mayor Bill de Blasio and LA Mayor Eric Garcetti have promised to defund their police departments. Is this something that Miami is considering?
I haven't heard any of our electeds say that. We have a commission meeting on this Thursday. I'll be curious to know if that's a topic of discussion. I know, Enrique, like you, that the vast majority of the policemen are good and do an excellent job and sacrifice so much. Are they bad officers? Of course there is. That's because there's bad people. Are they bigoted officers? Of course. There are bigots that live in our society. We just have to identify them and remove them from our ranks. But when you speak that way, what you're saying is that everyone is bad and you should punish everyone for the acts of a few. And man, that's not proper. That's not the right way of going about that.
As police chief, what are you mostly concerned about if you're told that your police department will be defunded?
I'm concerned of how the officers would react to that. Think of the message that you're telling them. What you have done here to us now has no value because of the horrific acts of what we saw in Minneapolis. That's what you're telling the policemen here. It doesn't matter that you've come here and you have served with respect, honor, nobility. You treat people with dignity and respect. that doesn't matter to us. We're going to judge you in this very, very generic way. And it doesn't matter what your sacrifices have been. I think it's a horrific message to send the men and women of the department. I don't know how they would respond to that. I don't know how you can expect them to come here with a smile on their face and serve with cheer. I mean, it's concerning. It's very concerning.
Chief, as a career law enforcement officer, what goes through your mind when you see a protester in your city holding up a sign that says "Killer cops on the loose" or "Fuck the police"?
Man, for me, it's heartbreaking and it's deflating. So it's both, right? You feel the hurt that they're kind of putting out there, because that's what that's intended to be. It's intended to be hurtful. And so that's effective, and it does hurt. And then the second part, it's very deflating, because the amount of work that so many of us have put in to build in the community, as you know, because you helped me, we've had 2 galas the last 2 years. We've raised $550,000 after expenses, all of that money right back into youth programs. Man, we have 1,000 kids in our PAL program, wrestling, football, art, music, robotics. We tutor, we do these things to build in the community. It just hurts. You put so much in, and you know how it is when you love and that you don't get that back, man. That's kind of hard to fix in your head, that you're doing something for someone and they ignore you or don't love you back.
Close to 3,000 people protested on the streets of Miami on Friday without major incidents, without arrests. Would you say that is because of the close ties the Miami Police Department has with the community?
I think without
mutual
a doubt,
respect.
Yes, I think without a doubt, there are people that are angry, and I understand. And they want to protest, and we're cool with that. We're here to protect your right to go out and assemble and express your free speech. So many of us has helped us make sure that it's peaceful. If they see someone that is clearly an agitator, they've told that person they need to leave. I mean, we see that happening where they're actually policing themselves in that regard, and that's wonderful. And I think it's because we've worked so hard here in the community, and we've asked for their help, and they know that they can count on us. All those things matter. It certainly has mattered now in this critical point in this country, really, not just here, but in this country.
Chief Colina, thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother.